Hello my dear students, welcome to English class. Today I am going to discuss Alexander and Puru from Unit 6 and Section 1. Unit 6, Section 1, and the name of the chapter is Alexander and Puru. Modern Greece was known as Yunnan in ancient times. So modern Greece was named as a Yunnan, okay, in the ancient times, okay. Ancient time Greece was known by a name Yunnan. In the neighborhood of Yunnan, there lay the state of Macedonia, which was ruled by King Philip. So in the nearby, that is neighborhood of Yunnan, there is the state, name of that state is Macedonia, where King Philip ruled that state, okay. So the Macedonia king, the name of the Macedonian king is King Philip. Philip was a very powerful ruler and he controlled the whole of the territory of Yunnan. So Philip was very powerful ruler and he controlled the Yunnan territory, okay. He captured and he controlled, he had all the power to control the Yunnan territory, okay. So the whole Yunnan under his control, under the King Philip's control. He ruled the Yunnan territory. Philip had a son called Alexander. So Philip had a son called Alexander. Alexander is the son of King Philip. He came to the throne of Macedonia at the age of 20 after the death of Philip. So he came to the throne of Macedonia. He became the king. He seated on his father's chair. That means he also became a king because he is the son of King Philip. So obviously after the death of Philip, the son, has only will become the king of that particular territory, Yunnan territory, okay, Yunnan territory. So what happened after the death of Philip? He became the king, okay. Who became the king? Alexander became the king. At that time his age was 20. At the age of 20 he became the king of Yunnan after his father's death. Aristotle, the great philosopher, was also from Yunnan. Alexander had Aristotle as his preceptor or guru. So Aristotle, the great philosopher. Aristotle was a great person and a philosopher, and he used to be the preceptor, a teacher, okay, or a guru of Alexander, okay. So guru of Alexander, the name of the guru of Alexander is Aristotle. So Aristotle was the guru of Alexander. That is a teacher of Alexander, okay, mentor of Alexander, you can say. So Alexander thus received his education at the hands of a great teacher and thinker. He was very ambitious from his very childhood and had dreams of being a conqueror of the whole world. So Alexander used to be very ambitious from his childhood itself, and he learned all the educations, okay, from Aristotle, a great philosopher. So he was in a right hand, okay. So he was in a right hand of a good philosopher, okay. The philosopher taught him the right path, everything. The philosopher, the teacher, preceptor, guru, and you can say mentor. The Aristotle was a mentor of the Alexander. He taught education and everything to the Alexander, okay. So Alexander was very ambitious from his childhood, okay. He ambitious in the sense determined, okay. He was very determined in his work. He was very ambitious. He had the power to fulfill the dreams, okay. He had, if he dreamed something, if he had one dream, okay. So that dream is he had to capture the whole world. You have to become the king of the whole world, not for the Yunnan, not in the Yunnan, territory, okay. You want to conquer the whole world and to want to become the king of the whole, whole world, okay. So not only Yunnan territory. This would mean much destruction and bloodshed. Alexander knew this, but it did not prevent him from starting on his campaigns for victory over other kingdoms. So obviously, if you want to become something, if someone wants to become something for other territories, if I want to capture the other territories, if any king want to capture the other territory to rule that territory, okay, if any king want to conquer the other territory, other country, okay, so to rule that particular territory, to have the power of his own, okay, power of his own, to have his own power to the other territory. So obviously the people of other territory will not give him simply where you come and conquer us, okay. So it needed lots of bloodshed and destruction, okay. You have to fight for that, to conquer that, to capture the territories, okay, to become the king of the world, okay. You had to fight to the other peoples to capture that areas, to capture the territories, to capture other kingdoms, okay. So but it doesn't prevent him to sit by thinking of bloodshed and destruction. It doesn't prevent him to sit in one place, okay. He never bothered about all bloodsheds and and destructions. He never bothered about. He just want to become the king of the whole world. His main dream is to capture the other territories, to become the king of. Never bothered, and never anything, nothing bothered him, okay. Alexander knew this, but it did not prevent him from starting on his campaigns for victory over other kingdoms. Aristotle's teachings did not prove to be of much help in this respect. Alexander spent the first 2 years after occupying the throne planning his campaigns to conquer the world. So what happened after become the king of Yunnan territory, okay, Yunnan. So he became the king of, after taking the throne of his father, after sitting on the chair of his father, he became king, okay. So he spent 2 years to think how to conquer the world, okay, how to conquer the other kingdoms, how to conquer the other, how to capture, okay, how to fight a war. He planned all these things till 2 years, okay. So till 2 years he planned everything, how to conquer, how to achieve the victories, okay, how to achieve all the kingdoms, how that I can be a king of the whole world, okay. He planned everything neat and cleanly for the 2 years after becoming king. He then marched on Persia, present day Iran, okay. So present day Iran country is said to be as Persia in the ancient time, okay, leading an army of 30,000 footmen and 5,000 soldiers of cavalry. So he marched towards, okay, he marched towards Iran, present day Iran. Ancient name of the Iran was what? Persia, okay. So Persia, he marched towards the Persia, leading an army of 30,000 footmen, that is 30,000 soldiers were walking, footmen, 30,000 soldiers marched from his kingdom to Persia, that is present day Iran, by walk, by their foot, okay. And 5,000 soldiers of cavalry, 5,000 soldiers who were riding on the horse and went, okay. So riding on the horse, cavalry means those who sit on the horse for a war, okay. The soldiers who were sitting on the top of a horse, rising on the horse and the horse is walking for a war, okay. So cavalry. Alexander finally won the war, which lasted 4 years. So finally he captured the Iran. Alexander won the war, okay, which lasted for 4 years. The war took place for 4 years. He next conquered Afghanistan. At that time, India was well known throughout the world as the land of milk and honey. So after capturing Iran, that is Persia, he captured Afghanistan, okay. He conquered the Afghanistan, and at that time when he conquered the Afghanistan, at that time India was well known for production of milk and honey, okay, well known for throughout the world for milk and honey. It was extremely rich and prosperous. Alexander next expressed his wish to conquer India. So after that, his dream was to conquer the whole world. One by one, he is conquering the kingdoms of other kings, okay. So first Persia, then second he went on, he conquered Afghanistan. The next one, he's thinking to conquer the India. Okay, so at that time India was very prosperous, very rich and very prosperous, and India was well known for milk and honey productions. Okay, so next his thought was to capture India. But his commander-in-chief warned him that it was not going to be easy for him to conquer India. So his commander-in-chief, after hearing his wish that he wanted to conquer, he wanted to capture, okay, so India, but his commander-in-chief told him that it will be not easy for you to conquer India. Okay, let us see why it was not easy. Alexander's commander-in-chief pointed out to him that the Ganarajas in India were governed by the people of themselves. So Alexander's commanders-in-chief told him that Ganarajas in India were governed by the people themselves. Ganarajas means the state, the government state where the state or area where all the citizens have equal status. That is said to be an Ganarajas. The Ganarajas of India, they themselves, themselves government. Okay, so they think they are good and bad. The citizens of that area itself is a government. Okay, so India were governed by the people of themselves. The people itself ruling that area is Ganarajas. The people were highly self-respecting and heroic. It was difficult to conquer them. The commander-in-chief also told to Alexander, the people of India were highly respecting. Okay, self-respecting and heroic in nature. They have the guts, they have the bravery to fight with anything, with any situation. Okay, so they don't get, Indian people never get feared of fight, never get feared of anything. Okay, they were very brave and they have their own self-respect. They are very heroic. Okay, heroic in any situations. Okay, so it will be not easy to conquer India. Alexander was not to be deterred by all this. So Alexander, after hearing all these things about India, whatever the commander-in-chief told to Alexander, he was not disturbed. He was not discouraged by hearing all this. After hearing that India is a self-respecting, heroic, that I can't conquer India. It is not. No, these words, the words of commander-in-chief never discouraged Alexander. Okay, he never bothered about the all these things. He want to conquer means he want to conquer India. Okay, so that kind of attitude Alexander had. Okay, he never bothered about anything. Okay, he just want to fulfill his dream. Okay, to want to become the king of the whole world after conquering one by one kingdom. He marched towards India with a large army. He conquered all the territories on his way to India. So he marched towards India by the dream of conquering India. To conquer India, he conquered all the territories of his way to India. So whatever the territories came on his way to reach India, he conquered all the territories. Suppose if I want to come to school, so by the way many houses are there. Okay, so I am getting into the house, every houses, and I am coming. Okay, getting in and coming out. Okay, so he had that kind of attitude. He never bothered about it. Whatever thing come in his ways, so he captured all these things. He conquered all the territories, and finally he reached to India. He finally arrived at the bank of the Sindhu river. So finally Alexander arrived at the bank of the Sindhu river. At a little distance from there stood the city of Takshashila, which was famous as the great seat of learning. Takshashila was the gateway of India. So very nearby, you can say very near to river Sindhu, one city is located, that is called Takshashila. Takshashila is famous for its learnings. Okay, so Takshashila was it has been said that Takshashila was the gateway of India. Okay, so gateway to India. Alexander pitched his camp here and sent a message to the states of lying beyond the Sindhu river to surrender to him. So Alexander pitched a camp near Sindhu River. Okay, the Sindhu River, Takshashila, and he pitched a camp in the sense he, he flagged his, himself. Okay, he set himself. Okay, by making tent or whatever in the olden days. Okay, so he set himself in that particular place, and he sent a message to all the cities nearby that if you send a message to the states lying beyond the Sindhu River to surrender him. Okay, so he sent a message to all the cities that to surrender their kingdom to him. King Ambi, the king of Takshashila, surrendered himself to Alexander. King Puru ruled over the region around the Jhelum and Chenab river. So King Ambi, the king of Takshashila, surrendered himself without any fight, without any war. Okay, he thought that I will be not able to fight with Alexander, because Alexander has a great army. Okay, a very strong king. Okay, so it will be impossible for me to fight with Alexander. So I can accept my defeat, and I am surrendering myself to Alexander. The king of Takshashila, the name of the king of Takshashila was King Ambi. Okay, he surrendered himself to Alexander. So at that time, the King Puru ruled over King Puru is a King Porus. It is said to be a King Porus. Okay, so King Puru ruled over the region around the Jhelum and Chenab river. So at that, the region nearby the region, Jhelum and Chenab river, near the regions, King Puru was ruling that areas. Okay, he was the king of that areas. So Alexander's messengers arrived in the court of King Puru. His message was clear. If King Puru accepted defeat and surrendered himself, he would be treated with all due honor. If he refused to do so, he would have to face war. So Alexander sent a message to King Porus, by saying this: if you accept your defeat and if you surrender your kingdom to me, you will be treated with due respect, due honor. Okay, you will be not treated as prisoners. Okay, otherwise what? Here it will be, if you refuse to accept your defeat and hand over the kingdom to me, that is Alexander, hand over kingdom to me, at that time what happens? A war will take place and I will capture your kingdom, and that time you will be not treated with due respect, due honor. Okay, so the messengers said, King Puru, we are ready for war. So messengers of the King Puru, okay, the messengers of the King Alexander went to the King Puru's court and said, King Puru's kingdom in the court, inside the court, he went and said that if King Puru accepts the defeats and surrenders his kingdom to the Alexander, there will be no war, and the king will be treated with due respect, due honor. Okay, as if the king will not be treated as, if he accepts the defeat. Okay, the king will not be treated as prisoners. Okay, so he will be treated with respect. Okay, but the messengers of King Puru tell King Puru, we are ready for war. That means the King Puru was a very brave person. Okay, so he had the courage to oppose King Alexander. Okay, like other kings, he never defeated himself. He never surrendered his kingdom. He never surrendered himself to King Alexander. He said, we are ready for the war, whether we get defeat or whether we won the war, it doesn't matter, but we are ready to fight against Alexander. King of Kakaya said the messenger, remember, the emperors are never defeated. In the end, they always win. You are taking up a great challenge. So the king of Kakaya said, the messenger, remember that Alexander empire never defeats. You are taking a great challenge by opposing King Alexander. We care less for victory or defeat. We prefer to die rather than surrender ourselves. Yes, this is the clear message from King Puru's side, that We don't bother about our kingdom, our people of this kingdom, and I never bother about the defeat and the victory. Okay, so defeat and the victory. We prefer to die rather than surrender ourselves. We prefer to die being covered. Okay, so if we defeat with a bravery, okay, if we suppose if the poorest the people cannot to win the war, but still I have the poorest kingdom, the poorest, the citizens of that kingdom, the people of that kingdom have that courage to oppose Alexander, and they never want to surrender themselves. The king also never want to surrender themselves without fighting to Alexander. It doesn't bother whether they defeat or whether they win the battle. Okay, so but still they will prefer to die. They will prefer to die rather being covered. Okay, so rather they will prefer to die by fighting but rather being covered. We care less for victory or defeat. We prefer to die rather than surrender ourselves. This was King Puru's reply. The king had great faith in his people, the people of the Kakaya region. So the king had the great faith on the people that yes, we will win the war against Alexander. Okay, he never accepted the defeat. Okay. Alexander made all the preparations for war when King Puru refused to surrender. King Puru also got ready for battle. So Alexander prepared himself, his soldiers to ready for the war, to ready to conquer King Puru's kingdom. Okay. So after getting the replies from King Puru that he will accept the challenge and he want to fight and die rather than to surrender himself. Okay. The King Puru and Alexander both were preparing for their battle. Okay, so it was summer and Jhelum river was in spate because the snow had melted. So at the time of war, it was summer. Okay, so because of the hotness of the sun, the snow melted. That means spate is a flood. Okay, it becomes the snow after the melting of snow. The snow melted and the water flooded. Okay, so the river was full of water. Okay, at the time of summer, the river of Jhelum was full of water. After heavy rain throughout the night, it was now difficult to cross the river. Alexander led his army in a surprise attack across the river at dawn. So, at what happened after the overnight rain, okay, it became flood area and it became wet. Okay, the areas became very much wet. Okay, like mud became clay type and all these things, wet all these things. The heavy rain throughout the night, it was difficult to cross the river. So because of the heavy rain, the river was filled with water. Okay, it was quite difficult to cross the river. So at that time, what did Alexander do? Alexander attacked, surprise attack. He attacked surprisingly. He attacked surprisingly across the river at the dawn time. Okay, so King Puru's army put up a great fight, but the wheels of their chariots got stuck up in the mud. So King Puru's army put up with a great fight. They started fighting. They started opposing Alexander's soldiers. Okay, they started fighting with the war has been started here. Alexander and King Puru's soldiers were fighting. At that time, what happened? Because of the overnight rain, the mud which became wet, the sands which became wet. Okay, at that time, what happened? The chariots of the King Puru, the wheels of the chariots of the King Puru stuck on that mud. Okay, so the chariot is the two-wheeled vehicles which is run by horse. Okay, so that is said to be a chariot. Alexander's army was mounted on elephants. The army of the Kakayas faced great disadvantages, but they fought bravely. King Puru himself was wounded. So at that time, what happened? Because of the wheels got stuck inside the mud. Okay, stuck inside the wet muds. Okay, so at that time, what happened? they got defeated. They got very disadvantages. They are not getting advantages. All the chariots got stuck, and they are not able to fight in with a proper. They are not able to fight with a proper manner. But at the same time, Alexander's soldiers were riding on the elephant, and they started the war. Okay. But they fought bravely. King Puru himself was wounded, but still they fought very bravely. Okay, the kingdoms, the Kekia's people fought very bravely against against Alexander's soldiers. Okay, so the king himself, the King Puru himself, that is King Porus himself, become wounded in that war. Okay, himself got hurt in that war. Okay, so the army of King Ambi pursued King Puru. At this critical time, King Puru raised his spear to strike King Ambi, but Alexander's soldiers captured him. The army of King Ambi, okay, so the army of the King Ambi followed King Puru, okay, to catch him, okay. So at that time, what happened? The King Puru took his, sword or spear, appointed iron pointed, steel pointed, sharp thing is a sword, or you can say spear. He took his spear to strike King Ambi, okay. But at that time, the soldiers of King Alexander captured him. That is, catched him, okay. King Puru. King Puru was wounded and brought into the presence of Alexander as a prisoner. So when King Puru got defeated in the battle, at that time the soldiers of the Alexander captured King Puru and brought him in the front of Alexander as a prisoner. Okay, so the King Puru became the prisoner of Alexander. Alexander looked at the tall figure of Puru, bleeding and in pain because of the wounds. He saw no trace of pain on Puru's face, nor was there any trace of fear. So when King Puru became the prisoner of Alexander, he was brought in the front of Alexander. King Puru was brought in the front of Alexander. At that time, Alexander saw King Puru's face, the tall figure. He was completely with a bloodshed, okay. He was completely bleeding. He was hurted in the war, okay. He got wounds, lots of wounds. He was bleeding. His physical appearance was full of pain. But Alexander noticed that he doesn't had any fear on his face. He doesn't had any, fearness on his face, any pain on his face, that he lost the battle, okay. So Alexander noticed on King Puru's face, nor was there any trace of fear. So King Puru never feared about it, that when he captured and brought to the front of King Alexander. Alexander was highly impressed by King Puru. So after seeing the bravery of the King Puru, that is King Porus, Alexander became highly impressed. Okay, he thought, wow, what a wonderful person, that other kings surrendered themselves to me because of my strong, because of my strong soldiers, because of my brave soldiers, because of me, that I have the capability to conquer the other kingdom. But is the only one, the King Alexander, who never accepted defeat without fighting, okay. Rather, he accepted death, okay. So he accepted without fighting. He never accepted his defeat. If it is a victory or a defeat, he challenged Alexander, and he had no trace of fear, okay. No, he was so brave, okay, when he was brought in the front of Alexander as a prisoner. By seeing this, Alexander became very much impressed that what a brave person the King Puru was, okay. So he said, I have fought many battles and conquered many territories, but I have never come across a king who was so brave and a hero as you are. Tell me, how I should treat you? What should be my conduct towards you. So King Alexander said to Puru that I have never seen a king as brave as you. I have conquered many kingdoms. They surrendered to me. They cannot fight me. I have defeated. But after being defeated, you don't have a trace of fear on your face. You don't have a pain of fear on your heart that you have been defeated, and for your life you don't have, you are not fearing for your life, as I can do anything with you. Okay, so you are such a brave person, and I am completely impressed with you, Alexander. Impressed with you, I'm completely impressed of this. Okay, so the Alexander said to Puru, now tell me, how should I treat you? Okay, what should be my behavior towards you as a prisoner? Now you are my prisoner, okay, but still I am asking you, by seeing your bravery, by seeing your fearless face, okay, that how can I treat you? How should I treat you? Okay, how should be my behavior towards you? You should treat me as one king would treat another king, said King Puru with all dignity. So King Porus, that is King Puru, said with a bravery face, with a high honor, with a high self-respecting, with a dignity. He said, you should treat me like a king, okay, as you treat to other king, because I am a king. There was a tone of self-respect in Puru's voice. This pleased Alexander. He freed Puru and gave him his kingdom back. So, being a prisoner also, King Puru, he never changed his attitude. He was fearless. Okay, so he was fearless, and with a self-respect voice, he said all these things. You treat me as a king, I am a king, likewise you treat with other king. Okay, by hearing this self-respect voice, okay, so Alexander freed King Puru. Okay, he got impressed with King Puru. Alexander released King Puru. Okay, released, and he gave back his kingdom back. So the King Puru got his kingdom back. Okay. Alexander continued his march after the encounter with Puru, but he found it increasingly difficult to pursue his ambitions. Okay, so as he returned, by seeing the bravery of the King Puru, he returned the King Puru's kingdom to King Puru itself. Okay, and he freed King Puru, and Alexander continued his march after the war. Okay, he marched towards, okay, he marched after the encounter with Puru, he marched towards his, land, but he found increasingly difficult to pursue his ambition, but he found very much increasingly difficult to capture, to conquer, to complete his dream. Okay, to complete his dream, he found very much difficult. A few of Ganarajyas surrendered to him, but the rest of them put up a fight unitedly. So few of the Ganarajyas accepted the defeat and surrendered to King Alexander, but the rest of the Ganarajyas, the rest of the kingdoms, united and fought against Alexander. Okay, Alexander aims lost their zest to fight against such strong opposition. So Alexander's armies, okay, lost their interest, okay, lost their energy, lost their energy to fight against such strong oppositions, because they were fighting for a long time. Okay, to conquer a world, it is not a easy thing. One by another you have to take the battle and fight against other kingdoms. Okay, continuously they are fighting with the other kingdoms to conquer. So in the journey of the conquering the whole world, many kingdoms Alexander captured. One of the kingdom he gave it to King Puru. Okay, he gave to King Puru his own kingdom, but continuously fight. If you do continuously something, obviously will lose the energy. Okay, the armies of the Alexander lost their energy and interest to conquer the other kingdoms, to fight against the other kingdoms, because they have been fighting for a long time. Okay, They had spent a long time away from their homes. They expressed the wish to return. Alexander realized that his ambition to become the conqueror of the world would remain unfulfilled. He was deeply disappointed at this and tried to pursue his army to keep on marching. So, when the armies lost their energies, okay, because they were fighting continuously and they were away from their home for a long time, they expressed their wish to Alexander and said that they expressed their wishes to Alexander and said that we want to go to home, okay, we don't want to fight, okay. So at that time Alexander thought that his dream will be unfulfilled, okay, he will not able to conquer the whole world because his army became zest, okay, that is energyless. They don't have any energy to fight against other kingdoms because they were fighting for a long time and they want to go to their home. He was deeply disappointed at this and tried to pursue his army to keep on marching, but finally he had to return. He died on his way back in Babylon at the age of 36. So he was very deeply disappointed after hearing this, that his soldiers want to go back to home. They lost their energies of fighting. They want to meet their families, okay. He was very deeply disappointed, but still he marched on forward and finally he was on his way to return home. At that time he died on the way itself, and where he died, the name of that place is Babylon, and he died at the age of 36. He died at the age of 36. So here ends the discussion. If you have any doubt, any questions regarding this chapter, you can contact me between 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. to get it clarified with all your doubts. Thank you.